Hi, I'm Tracy. So for my project, I decided to use the three symbols of the U, the and the U. Now I decided not to use the sound for the letter U because I feel like that's more often that's confused with the sound. For example, cut and cat. So I decided to leave that and study that with those two sounds together rather than include that in here. And I didn't want to overwhelm my students with possible pronunciation of the letter U or various combinations of letters with those sounds. So we did these three sounds, and mainly because my students have had a real problem lately. I've noticed this with a number of my groups of different levels with the letter U. And, you know, we have the typical mistakes, for example, sweet instead of suit, juice instead of juice. And also the U sound, knowing when to say usual as opposed to usual, which is quite typical for Spanish speakers because they would pronounce it as an U in their language in Spanish. So I wanted to highlight these differences. So the first thing that I did was I made the story, and they got this story, and we identified the three sounds. I explained to them the difference between the oo sound and the position of the mouth, that the tongue is raised in the back, your tongue is tense, your lips are forward, so the oo, and I elicited the word boot. And then we went to so I had them close their eyes. They recognized the difference in the physicality of it, where their tongue goes, that their tongue relaxes and still a little bit raised in the back, but the lips are much more relaxed. I did a silent miming so they could see which one was which. And then with the U, obviously, I elicited the word you, and that one was easier for them to get, partially because they were so familiar with the word you. It's one of the first words they learn. And because they had, they have this sound in their language. So I explained to them that it is the palatal semivowel, the tongue, the sides of the tongue are against the inside of the teeth, and we start off e, and your tongue is up. It's almost in the I sound, in the I position, but then it glides through into the following vowel, which is the U. So you, they were quite comfortable with doing that. So then I read the story, and they had to show on the story what the appropriate sound was. So I gave them the example with Luke, and so they had to write the symbol down for each of the words in bold. After this, I had them fold the paper, and in pairs they had to complete the chart. So I've taken the words out of the story, and they had to try to remember which one goes where. They read the story together in pairs as well, which gave them some practice with the words. Afterwards, we went through each of the symbols and all of the words that we'd given, and we talked about the different spelling possibilities. And as you can see on the board behind me, there were a lot of spelling combinations that have all of those symbols or all of those sounds in them. So we talked about that for a little bit, about how difficult this makes pronunciation for Spanish speakers, especially, and they're used to reading and saying things as it's written. So we talked about that as a group. I also finally had them design a tongue twister for somebody else in the class. just to have some fun with it, because I feel like they take it all very seriously and they can get a little bit discouraged. I think it was a little bit frustrating for them, so I like to finish off with something where they can be a little bit silly and just have fun with it. And they really enjoyed it. Even after the class, I could hear them, walking out in the hallway and trying to say their tongue twisters. So they seemed to enjoy it. They were really happy with the whole exercise. I think that it was interesting that I actually learned, my students were insistent that student was the U sound, and for me, student, I don't feel like I make that noise. And so I was saying, no, it's the oo sound. And then we looked it up, and it turns out that in a rhotic accent, or rhotic, I don't know how to say that word, it's an oo sound, but in RP, it's actually U. So they were right, and I learned something as well. So yeah, it was a really good activity. It's really opened them up to the pronunciation exercises that we've been doing, and gave them a little bit of confidence to distinguish between these sounds, especially common sounds that are common mistakes for Spanish speakers.